our next speaker also healthcare. Hi, Naman.
Hi, Prachi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
So,
So yeah, let's get
nice
started.
to meet you too. So let me give a brief introduction about Naman. Uh, He's a robotics engineer working at Oris Health, a subsidiary of Johnson & Johnson. He completed a double major in electronics and instrumentation and economics from BITS Pilani and subsequently a master's in robotics from CMU Pittsburgh. He has spent over 2 years working on medical robotics, both in academia and in the industry. At UCSD, he worked in medical robotics lab where he spent his time on the Da Vinci surgical robot uh, and exploring collision detection, machine learning, and latency in teleoperation. At Oris Health, he currently leads the software aspect of building a surgical robot simulator to guide surgeons to perform successful surgery using optimization and artificial intelligence. So, welcome, Naman. Over to you.
And thank you for that introduction. I'll start presenting my screens.
Sure.
All right. I hope you can see my screen now. Um,
Yes, it's coming
yeah,
up. Yeah.
awesome. All right. So this is going to be a very high level overview of AI in healthcare and what are the challenges that we are facing with AI currently and what has been done in the past and what we can expect to see in future. And why am I here? Because I'm in no way a medical expert. I'm a roboticist. I've been grown up in a background with doctors around me because my parents were doctors, their friends were doctors. So I did learn a couple of terminologies from my surroundings while I was growing up. Uh, I somehow got a chance to work at UCSD, and that's where my first experience in medical robotics started. They were building all kinds of endoscopes, surgical robots, MRI imaging, and whatnot. We were exploring reinforcement learning, machine learning, and also different types of just controls in order to figure out how best we can do the navigation using these robotics tools. Moving on, I went to Carnegie Mellon, where worked with a biorobotics lab. The lab was again focused on medical robotics and other kinds of robots which evolved from medical robotics. Uh, I'm sure some of you must have seen the snake robots. Uh, Snake robot is basically a huge endoscope, if you can consider in that fashion. And we were building all kinds of drug discovery robots and endoscopes, and then snake robots and even legged robots. So I focused on working on the legged robots parts because that included everything from snakes, how snakes work, and how mobile robots work. So it was like a broad experience. Now, currently, I'm working at Johnson and Johnson in the medical devices part of their company, and within medical devices, I'm also focused on the robotics part of it. Uh, and within that itself, I'm also working on the data and systems analysis team. So, which means we get the data from the robot and then we do some kind of artificial intelligence and optimization on that data to find out how we can use that information to better our surgical procedures from next time. So, as I said, that I've worked on various aspects of robotics, but currently I'm working on more on the data side and systems development side. Uh, and yeah, we're working on robotic laparoscopic surgeries in particular. There are a few things that I did not want to cover in this topic since it's an overview of AI in healthcare. There are a lot of things which had to be covered then. So I decided to keep the scope limited, and the scope has been limited by limiting to only AI. Uh, so I've removed hardware, mechatronics of devices and sensors from this talk. I've also removed Internet of Things, where you have wearables and other kinds of tools that people use to track their healthcare. Cloud computing is another one such topic which I've removed from this talk. Bioinformatics, computational genomics, and evolutionary biology. I'm in no way an expert in bioinformatics, and I don't think I'll be doing justice if I cover this in this talk. And obviously, academic research. I've been away from academic research for a while now, and since it's an industry talk, I wanted to focus more on what is going on in the industry and how industry is flourishing in this aspect. So the direct audience for this presentation is engineers who want to build medical devices or want to use AI in their product. So people who are basically looking forward to join industry, it will be super helpful for them. Academics who are also trying to find new challenging problems which can directly be applied. So these will not cover all the indirect applications that are going on academics, but it will definitely cover those directly applied things which we can uh, use to like get funding from industry and give them the projects. Uh, People who already have basic understanding of robotics, computer vision, or AI. So at least you have some idea on what the kind of data pipeline can occur when you're using artificial intelligence would be helpful to go forward. So the agenda for this talk, so now that we have covered what we will not talk about, we'll definitely want to shift to something which we want to talk about, and that is motivation, history of AI and healthcare, present applications of AI and healthcare, challenges that uh, presently we are facing, and threats that will probably remain throughout the next century, next decade at least, unless there are some regulations on AI which come into being. And we'll talk about some future scope of what AI in healthcare might look like in the recent years. So starting with motivation, uh, obviously we need data if we want to do AI, and the digital data of patients, which is also called electronic health records, are widely available in developed countries, not so much in developing, but there are tools which can convert uh, clinical data or notes into electronic health records also. So once we have an electronic health record, we can use artificial intelligence, which is basically pattern recognition. Uh, Artificial intelligence also covers a lot of other things now, like generative models and whatnot, but the scope of that in AI is in healthcare is very limited. AI has found applications useful for doctors, patients, insurance companies, and even healthcare administration. So wherever you have data, you have the usefulness. Most of the data can be used to interpret something better and bigger. Robotics coupled with AI has advanced the field of how surgeries and rehabilitations are performed already. So this is something which you might have seen talk about, at least like people are having robotic prosthetic legs. There are surgeries that are already being conducted using robots, and even India has those very expensive robots in some hospitals that I know of. Data sources definitely vary from wide range of types of data modes. So you have media, patents, publications, and medical scans, microscopic view of samples, and behavior data. So you have text, images, and videos of some sort. This is a general architecture on how an AI pipeline might look. You can go from clinical notes, electronic records, genetic and environmental factors. These are all kinds of inputs to your data stream. Uh, do data cleaning and processing, choose your features which are somehow independent of each other, uh, find out which metrics are important for this research topic or for this project, and do some model selection. Uh, figure out what's the accuracy, F score, confidence on your results, and then obviously you have to go back if they don't match your expectations and uh, if they're not sufficient enough for your results. And you can also calculate some risk scores. And yeah, risk scores are basically saying that okay, they're not particularly accuracy. It's more like, hey, these are the metrics that might be useful for doctors to look at while they're actually examining the accuracy of the model as well. So past achievements in this field have been obviously data engineering and data science. A lot of experts have been explored in the past. Support vector machines and fully connected neural networks have given us the best results. Uh, they're widely used. Support vector machines have the advantage of giving you the flexibility to shift your decision boundary as close to positive points and negative points as much as possible. You have fully connected neural networks, which gives you the flexibility of choosing a nonlinear nonlinear approximation of the function. Um, and obviously, you can deal with kernels and whatnot to make it more complicated. Uh, Natural language processing has helped us convert doctor notes to electronic records, as I told you about that in the previous slide. Um, we have also seen chatbots for patients, customer service, and whatnot. Uh, FDA approved teleoperative surgeries are already in practice, so that has been a big achievement. People have started actually considering robotic surgeries, and doctors have widely adopted it for the sake of fast recovery and for the sake of uh, like more precision. And obviously doctor on the doctor's part, there is it takes lesser time. On the patient side, it also takes lesser time. So it's a, there's a lot of benefits, but obviously the cost of these surgeries are very high, and that is something I think the next decade will be to like optimize on that. Uh, there have also been tried FDA approval on cancer detection, neurology, and cardiology. So people have dealt with clinical images to find cancer, early detection of cancers, uh, brain machine interface. I'm sure some of you must have already heard about that. And MRI images have been used to do computer vision and image processing to find out the cardiac arrest possibilities. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think we have made big achievements in the past, and definitely moving forward, we can see some even bigger accomplishments. Present developments are even remarkable. We are not just looking at MRI scans anymore. We are looking at CAT scans, MRI scans, and X-rays. And these are generally combined with other applications, like you have drug discovery. So in order to understand the anatomy of the patient before you can, drug discovery is just looking at the biochemistry data and finding out what drugs would work for this kind of situation. And with COVID, I think we have already seen how fast we have been able to come up with vaccines, and we'll continue to do so in future with the use of AI, I think. Then you have risk scoring. Risk scoring basically tells you what is your metabolic age, how uh, risky is it for you to uh, like how risky is cancer or like cardiac arrest or diabetic you are in your current environment, and that definitely helps the insurance companies as well. Uh, you can assist physicians in decision making, so you already have a lot of data about the patient before you actually make a decision, and that could help physicians as well. And obviously, being humans, we cannot analyze everything and everything in a certain format, and we cannot it's not just humanly possible to take all the big data and make our decisions based on that. uh, Physicians have their biases too, and AI might have their biases too, and so it might be helpful for physicians to look at from a different perspective. Clinical trial management, that's a very big field. You have a structured environment, and there's everything is being basically done uh, very structurally, and you have all the data, everything is being recorded. So I think that's a very clear win for AI, and definitely you can use to extrapolate to other demographics and other uh, areas of the same field. Um, Robotic surgeries, as I said, they have been going on and they will continue to be explored by industry and academia. The technical challenges that we are facing currently with different AI models that are being used, uh, we have seen obviously biases. The data is sometimes very uh, one race sided or one sex sided, and we need to have a very broad database in order to get an unbiased AI model. And that broad database is not possible because some diseases happen only in certain demographics and they only happen in certain age groups. So it's very hard to basically generalize it for outliers and for other demographics when you have such kind of a data. So because you don't have enough data over different demographics, you also don't have universal benchmarks that can be used to understand how well your AI model is performing. So, and you obviously don't, beforehand, you do not know what kind of uh, diseases that can happen, or what kind of doctors idea of what kind of doctors will be uh, so basically the diagnosis will vary from doctors to doctors, so you don't have a fixed ground truth as well. That's why we say that there's lack of label data as well. uh, you have lack of patient data because there are not so many patients sometimes in a certain hospital. You cannot, and the hospitals are very democratized, so you don't have a universal healthcare system where you can just go and get all the data records together, although some hospitals are now clubbing up to do that. We can use generative models, but they're not very well understood to generate realistic but artificial patient data yet. And that is something I think that's a very good academic research topic to look at. We have a lot of unstructured data. I think anybody who has dealt with medical data might know this, that either the data is very noisy, it's sparse, or it's missing, and it's very hard to fill it out on your own. And using the missing data, it's very hard to do any kind of analysis. The biggest challenge again is to reduce false negatives, because you don't want to neglect anybody's tumor or something that is going to be life threatening. And with black box type models, sometimes it's very hard to reduce false negatives alone. Threats that AI faces in healthcare: definitely lack of trust from both doctors and patients because of its nature. Uh, is it even an ethical practice to use AI to decide for human lives? Even if it is an assist, only an assist for doctors, it might be. It depends how much it's going to affect doctors' decisions, and if it is doing too much, it might result in negligence on the part of medical professionals, because they might think that AI knows better than them, or AI might be able to take over what they have been thinking, and that might just result in medical professionals not taking care of everything as much as they would should. Uh, you obviously have problems with privacy and cybersecurity. The patient data sometimes cannot be given out. It's up to the patient if they want to sign up for the uh, legality or documents where the data could be shared among other people. FDA approvals is a big thing, because of a black box design, FDA is not very keen on giving approvals unless it has been very much validated throughout a group of people, and it's a very cumbersome process to go through that. Changing the medical profession as we see it today. So I think couple of people in Silicon Valley have definitely pointed out that the medical profession is not going to remain the same as we see it today. It's going to be more about understanding how these artificial intelligence algorithms work, how machine learning works, and how we can. So the doctors need to have more understanding of AI as well as medicine than just medicine at this point. In future, we can definitely see replacing wearables with a video-based vital monitoring app. There's already a startup which is doing that. Uh, there's earlier and accurate diagnosis of terminal illness, which is a lot of startups are also working on that. It's a challenging, challenging topic, and it's definitely something which you're not sure if it is correlation or a causation. Um, Robotic eye surgeries. Academic has explored robotic eye surgeries, but industry is still not very keen on using that. And I feel in the next decade we should definitely see that shift. Um, Also, long distance minimally invasive surgeries. So like if the surgeon is sitting in the US and wants to operate on a patient in India, they should be able to do that. There's obviously latency and whatnot, but I think we can overcome that using some artificial intelligence and automation in robotic surgeries. End-to-end learning from patient's genome and lifestyle factors to illness. So right now it's a very structured process, and you want to understand every point, because otherwise the FDA would not approve your product. But in the future, I can definitely see that FDA is more open to AI, and we might be able to get an end-to-end learning from patient's genome and lifestyle factors to illness, and that might give you better results than what we have today, because there are a lot of things which you do not understand about the human body, and AI might just help us do that. Then drug transport, there's obviously going nanoelectronics and the nanomaterials which are being developed for doing the drug transport. Um, with a better understanding of the human body, I think it's going to be much bigger in future. Then you have virtual health assistant, which are not just chatbots or your AI like Siri or something, but more like your doctor who would know what kind of questions to ask after what questions. Um, and that would just basically reduce the amount of work that physicians or residents have to do, paperwork the residents have to do before they can make any decisions. So that is all on my end. Thank you so much for attending and listening to this. If you have any questions and comments, I would be happy to take them.
Thank you, Naman.
Thanks, Prachi.
Quite a practical challenge it is, what you have discussed.
Definitely.
So, anyone who is having any questions can unmute and ask. So
If there are
maybe
no
I
questions,
can
yeah.
I can ask one question, like
Mhm.
regarding this uh like in the like putting the robots
Sorry, I lost you there. Can you say it
here.
again?
No, means this robots helping the surgeons, you are saying, right?
Hmm.
So in that you are doing some reinforcement learning as well, like the robots are trying
There
to
are definitely applications, like they might not be direct applications of reinforcement learning and like guiding the robotic surgery tool inside the
Hmm.
patient, but there might be like assistive steps that we can advise the surgeon to do. So for example, like it's not just about navigating in the workspace, it's also about navigating in the configuration space, if that makes any sense. So you're basically trying to move the joints in a particular manner so that they don't collide with each other when you're doing robotic surgery, especially. That's
Okay.
where reinforcement learning can come in. If you have done some anatomy modeling of the patient using CAT scans, you can use that information to find out what is the best way a surgeon should navigate inside the human body using an endoscope, let's say.
So this advice is that given during the surgery, or is it like beforehand?
Depending on what kind of surgery is happening, like there are some surgeries which are not very time, like they're not time limited, but you can spend time because like it's not about uh, the bleeding or anything, but there are some surgeries obviously where you cannot have so much time on hand, where the surgeons can study and then react.
Right.
But yeah, where we have time, we can definitely do it on real time, and we can say that okay, this is what surgeon wants to do, and maybe take some surgeon input and then use that information to best guide the surgeon. Or so it's
Okay.
better to just give them like in the beginning also some idea on what kind of things might look like.
Yeah. Very interesting. So if there are no more questions, I want to thank you, Naman, for giving your time. Uh,
Thanks, Prachi. No problem.
I just want to share one thing from my side.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is a small token of appreciation from on behalf of IEEE-IISc Student Branch and Comsoc Society.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And I'm really glad what you guys are doing, bringing other people to ISC and like giving the exposure. I think that's really important during your
Yes.
academic years. Yeah, that's what we don't get in industry for sure.
Yeah, means this industry exposure is required because in academia things are not like may not be that practical. Also, we focus on
Hmm.
more on the back end side, not in the like making it more optimized to like get it near the feet.
Right, right.
So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, definitely. If somebody has any questions, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn and I'll be happy to answer their questions there as well.
Sure. So
Yep.
thanks everyone for attending. I